turned on most of the time, aren't you, on one thing or another?
I feel like I've taken acid. I don't know. I don't think I did. I think I just went too high and never came down.
Does anyone else hear that howling, or is it just me? Hey, Sam.
Yeah.
Why did it take them so long to kill those ladies?
They like to play with their food. They take their time.
I'm still wondering if that movie ended. Did it really end?
It's still going on. Even when they escape at the end, they get to the beach and they're like, we can just pass out here. Nope, you can't. Here they come.
It's unbelievable. Every time I watch it, and I do watch this movie more frequently than any of the other in this series, but every time I watch it, I'm just mystified by how, I mean, this movie has to have the dumbest victims out of the hands down.
But before they're even victims, they're dumb. It's like, I'm gonna go on to this ghostly vessel that just showed up out of the blue, out of the fog. I should just put a shirt over top of my bikini. I don't need shoes. And also, the other people are going on a rescue mission, and that one girl comes in a cocktail dress and heels. Like, I'm all for
Yeah.
dressing up appropriately, but dress appropriately.
She's gonna be going on a boat too, which makes you, I mean, at least the other girls had the excuse that they were supposed to be rescued while they were modeling bikinis, so they could be photographed while wearing these bikinis. But yeah, why they arrived there dressed for a cocktail party, I will never know. But boy, didn't the one of the lead actresses look a lot like Joan Collins?
She sure did. I like the
Molina is her
flashbacks
last name.
too to, like, I got you into modeling. It's like, also, it feels like every every couple in this movie is a same-sex couple. Not, do you know what I mean? Like, the 2 guys had that argument. It seemed like they were having the one was trying to leave,
Yeah.
and then the girls, like, I've never got so upset about my friend going on a model assignment that I break out in tears. It's awesome.
Yeah, he really had a hard time telling the thug that he didn't want him to leave him alone. And then there was that moment at the end where the power dynamic finally shifted,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, like, what was going on there at the end of that scene?
I
He's
don't
like,
want
"Don't
you to
leave me alone,
leave,"
I'm
and he's like,
afraid."
and then he, like, stepped back in, and I was like, You're like,
Yeah,
"They cut that scene way too quick."
got closer and closer, and then it just cut.
Yeah.
But, you know, the rapist, I should say, because he had no problem at all raping Nomi. Poor Nomi. She just wanted to be a dancer. She just
Yeah.
wanted to be a showgirl.
Yeah.
Nomi Malone. Oh, Sam bounced right out of here. I did love that that character's name was Nomi, and she spelled it with an E in there too. Like if you look in the actual credits of the film, it's Noemi, not like our girl from Showgirls, Nomi Malone. And her clothes were fantastic. She got a strange sort of decapitation. It was from behind, but it seemed like it did not go all the way through her head because her head was still attached to her body because it was just sort of hanging there. Hi, Sam.
It was literally, I disappeared like the blind dead attacked me. I was watching the screen, I'm like, "Where am I going?" And I just kept watching it, like, that's how you fight these guys. Whenever they come, you just stand and scream and shriek at them. You don't run away. You don't get you just go, "Ah, ah, ah,"
The
and that's it.
screaming in this movie, there were so many screams. And of course, the one character, she's alone she's on her own on a spooky boat. How
Yeah.
she got there, don't even ask. And she takes out her little transistor radio, and she seems to have her pick of what station she wants out there in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere on the ocean.
And her batteries last forever because she's there long enough to sleep through the night and just keeps listening to the radio.
Yeah, it's still on somehow.
Are we to believe that this is a pocket blind dead universe where there are blind dead people that have radio stations? There's like a Wolfman Jack that's a skeleton sitting there.
I hope so,
Yeah.
because he picked the loudest classical music that he could
Oh,
possibly find in their entire station library.
I love that scientist that gives the speech. He's like, I don't even think I'm real anymore. I don't believe in anything. Everything, he's been totally knocked for a loop once he gets up. And how does a sporting goods bikini salesman know a scientist willing to go on a rescue? Oh, this movie's awesome.
Yeah, the eye socket, the water pouring out of the eye sockets at the end is one of my favorite things in this entire film
Yeah.
because he repeats it over and over again. And I wonder how long it took him to get that right. It seems like the water wouldn't have come out through the eye sockets
Yeah.
if they just lifted it up out of the water.
The guy in the suit had a little bottle and was holding it out. He was like pouring it.
He's like, "No, I want the water to come out of the eye sockets. You idiots."
Oh,
So yeah, that um definitely a highlight of the Ghost Galleon, aka Horror of the Zombies, which was the American title for this, we made a whole bunch of mistakes on the first segment. The first of which was the movie that we were looking at in the ad was Malibu Beach.
Not Malibu High.
Right. And we treated it like Malibu High.
And I'll take the blame for that one. That's my bad.
We got all carried away. So
Yeah.
I didn't recognize the account of whoever made that comment on Insta, but thanks for posting that. And the other thing that we got wrong, or I got wrong, was that Night of the Seagulls did get an American release. It was minimal, but I have found ads for Night of the Seagulls playing theatrically. Oh, and Mike Justice sent us some groovy images from a press book. You're never going to believe what movie it was paired with, Sam.
What's that?
I'll give you a hint. You may not live to see the end of it.
What is it?
Well, first we're going to look at the press book page for Night of the Seagulls.
Oh, awesome.
And this was, of course, the ad, Matt, that they gave you to promote this film. I do have a couple of these. Usually it was the second or third feature. I may have found one where it was the main event. But like I said, this did not get a really wide distribution in the States. The movie that was paired with Sam was
Eyeball.
Eyeball.
Oh,
It will grab you.
it will. In the eyeball.
That's my whole problem with Eyeball. I've told you that I really didn't like it because I watched it and I was waiting for a fucking eyeball to grab somebody, okay? And that's totally not the movie it is. I don't know. I was expecting the crawling eye.
You know what's great about Eyeball, and we've talked about it before, is that the tour group doesn't stop. They're like, I know numerous people on our tour have died, but we got to see these sites. We got to see them all.
It's a murder. Somehow they have such little compassion for these people that they were with and interacting with, for a couple of days or however long. They were now murdered.
Yeah.
And somebody probably in that touring party killed them. But hey, let's keep partying.
Yeah.
It's 1999.
You may see worse police work next week in one of our 2 movies next week, but not much.
Yeah, not by much.
Yeah.
Nora, I loved all those heels because I thought of that the minute she got dressed. I mean, I can understand why she put her dress back on, but those shoes, she could have carried them and he would have never known where she was.
Did you like whenever they finally got to the boat and they found her purse and they were like, she has to be dead because she would not leave this beautiful purse.
This beautiful designer handbag.
Yeah.
That contains her unmentionables.
Yeah. I know. I bought Becca a Coach purse, and if I found that purse without her, I'd say something happened.
It would be alarming, yeah.
It would. I also didn't know what a Coach purse was, or how much they cost. And whenever they went to ring me out, I thought, certainly this will be this figure, and it was like 4 times the figure I had in my head, and I was like, wow, purses are awesome. But I love my wife, and I got it for her. It equals 10 GI Joes. She just said it doesn't. It equals 30 GI Joes. But she
does have a pretty close analogy.
Yeah, it's okay. But also, it's like my wife. As Becca just said, if I found her cigarettes and not her, if her cigarettes were just in the middle of the room, I'm like, oh my God, something's wrong. She's missing. That's how you know.
Darren, those miniature effects were really not something.
Yeah.
It was amazing how gigantic those flames were at the end that engulfed the entire ship.
Yeah.
If you liked those special effects, you're going to love the sea serpent.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
I think the ones in this are better than the sea serpent, and there's like a 10-year gap between them.
Yeah.
So get ready.
They're way better than the sea serpent.
Yeah.
This looks like a documentary compared to the sea serpent.
But
you know what I wanted to say too is the edited version of this movie. Yeah, okay, I get it. The director has this thing where he keeps making these extended sequences of suspense where the monsters are inexorably moving towards their victim, and the victim seems to not be able to get away, and it takes forever for them to grab them, and they almost let her think she can get away, she can escape.
Yeah.
which I don't know why they didn't corner her the minute she went up on those stairs. But anyway, the director sets all this up, and then at the end of it, she gets dragged away, and the American print cuts away the part where they put her on that table and cut her head from behind and then eat her.
Oh,
And I thought, wow, to have sat through that entire sequence and not been rewarded at least with some sort of like shock at the end of it, that was cruel.
also, you're like,
Absolutely.
why isn't she just, they're carrying her, just jump off? Like, I still believe that there is some level of hypnotism when you're around them, like that they create this special field of knocking you out. They make you high.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do, because the professor even has a hypothesis about it because of the mist. He said because they slept for 14 hours, and he was like, this is like the chemicals emitted by a carnivorous plant.
Yeah.
Like somehow this thing had like lured them in, and it did. It sort of lulled them into the first thing they did when they got on that boat was go to sleep.
Yeah.
You don't even know who's on that boat. You haven't looked around. You don't know what's there. They didn't even look for Kathy, and I forget the other woman's name that was there with her. But
Yeah.
then they're going to go to sleep. It was not the way real people would behave.
Yeah. But you know what? That's this next, that we showed you that to show you the next one, because there's a lot of that's not how real people behave in the second movie too. Like, I was just rereading through the synopsis of it, and I was like, this is amazing. This next movie, that this is great. That we wouldn't have a movie otherwise, right? Like,
Sure, yeah.
yeah.
I know the answer, and
Yeah.
it's okay. I really don't care. And like I said, I watched this one so many times, so there must be something to it.
Also, I'd like to say for the record, I am not upset that I bought my wife that purse. I see some comments in the chat. I'm very happy that I bought it for her. I was not aware of what Coach was. Now I know.
Yeah, it's more like I was shocked too when I finally understood the value of those purses, because
Yeah.
I hear people talking about it at work all the time. I'm like, I don't know. I never knew that it cost that much, but if that's your thing, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like in Frogs, when she goes out to collect the butterflies, and Judy Pace, she's like, I do believe she's entitled if that's her thing.
Well, so that therefore, when we find the purse of the girl who's disappeared, like, yeah, that is an expensive handbag, and that's upsetting that she's left it behind.
It was like trauma, like to an animal in a movie, how it upset you. It was trauma to a handbag.
Yeah.
It got used as a pillow
Yeah.
by people it did not belong to,
No.
I might add.
Who should not be sleeping. Like,
I know.
let's get that across. Like, you don't need to sleep. Also, that boat had a smell, and it's like
Must
your boat home has disappeared. You're stuck in like this weird pocket dimension, and then it's like, oh yeah, I was taking a nap. Never have I reacted to danger. Maybe it's like a bear, how a bear reacts to things, right? Where it's like, maybe I should just hibernate on this.
Yeah, I was a little concerned about why they decided not to use the cross trick again after it worked the first time.
Yeah.
But then the professor was like, well, the wood's too wet to burn. And I was like, well, they just burned it. It burned okay. But then I remember they poured lighter fluid on it. So that's what was actually burning, I guess. I don't know. Their hands were tied
Are
dealing
there
with these blind dead.
any more ships or abbeys of these blind dead out there waiting just to randomly show up?
They had that strange thing. Sometimes they'd be singing and then they'd sound like they belched.
Yeah.
It's very death metal, isn't it?
It's super death metal. This whole movie is, I said before, is super metal. So I love it.
I love it too. This is
Yeah.
definitely one of my favorite out of the entire, like, actually, like the whole genre of 70s Spanish horror films. I think
Oh,
this is
wow.
one of the better ones.
Wow. That's a big statement.
Well, it's not as well made as others in the genre sometimes were,
Yeah.
but that doesn't bother me. Like, I like that it's not as high tech and that the effects are a little creaky. It's still a spooky story, even though it makes no sense whatsoever. It doesn't really have to. It's just sort of like a horror fantasy, let's say.
Yeah. Hey, Roger. I saw Roger's in the chat. Roger had some crazy stuff happen this weekend.
Oh, I know. The car attacked Roger.
Yeah, the car. He was trying to fuck with the car, and he didn't think the car would come into his house. And the car was like, and he was like, God damn it.
Yeah, it was alarming. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that the car turned away at the last minute
Yeah.
because it could have been a lot worse.
Now you have to go get dynamite and hunt down that car.
Mm-hmm. The worst is yet to come, Roger, I'm
Yeah.
afraid. Your
Yeah.
work is cut out for you now.
Yeah. It was literally
And
the car, not a car. It was the car.
and at the end of the movie, it's still going to be driving around in the credits. So did you really bury it? I don't
Yeah.
know.
And like you said, the book, maybe there's more. They all just show
Mhm.
up at the end like the book.
They were ready for the sequel, The
A whole bunch.
Cars.
Bill, I got to tell you, speaking of books, last night I was at Half Price Books here, and they had a Friday the 13th Jason Lives novelization for sale.
Ooh.
$95. They know what it's worth. My favorite thing, though, in the store, and I'm so excited to tell you this, they had a script of Return of the Living Dead signed by John Russo, who didn't write it, right? It's based on his stuff, but he didn't write it.
He wrote
$90.
something called Return of the Living
Yeah,
Dead, but not that.
it was $90.
Wow.
So is John Russo going to use bookstores throughout Pittsburgh and selling? It said this is a photocopied script of Dan O'Bannon's Return of the Living Dead, signed by John Russo. And then finally, to top off my night, Rick Seaback was looking through the records there.
Oh, far out.
Yeah, somebody was really bugging him about getting an autograph and pictures with him. And if you're not from Pittsburgh, he's like a PBS guy in Pittsburgh that does stuff about Pittsburgh. But Becca was like, "Oh, after that, I'm not going to talk to him." She was going to go up to him and say, "Hey, Sam cries when he hears your voice. Do you want to see it happen?" And have him talk to me and just see me start crying. Talk about how great Pittsburgh is for 30 seconds and watch Sam just start crying.
Aw.
Yeah, it's
That's
bad.
the kind of moment that would go viral if
Oh,
there
it
was
would.
somebody there to record
She
it.
would be filming it too. It would definitely be filmed. What's the other press book that you got, Bill?
That was it.
Oh, that was it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. We looked at both of them. One page was for Night of the Seagulls and the other was for Eyeball.
Oh, okay.
Because Mike said that they were a double feature at some point. So
Oh man,
there you go.
that's awesome. I love seeing those press books though, and I'm just reading Mike's comments about misleading campaigns, retitlings. It's just like Independent International is going to make it happen.
Oh yeah, like they were the ones that were bringing a lot of this Spanish Euro horror into the States.
Yeah,
Was Independent International, House of Psychotic Women, was Demon Witch Child Independent
it's Italian,
International?
I think.
Well, yeah, oh yeah. Well, wait a minute. No, wait.
No, it's
Isn't it? It's
Diasorio too. You're right.
Spanish.
It is
It's
Spanish.
Armando Diasorio.
Yeah. Sorry, I speaking for my Italian people who think everything Catholic is about them.
I
There
get
are-
mixed up too sometimes
There are
about
Spanish Catholics.
what country the films are from.
Yeah. Well, that's what Becca said. She said, "Is this Italian or Spanish?" I said, "Spanish." She goes, "No, it's all Europe. It's all the same
Right.
over there on the other side, the old world. It's old world horror." Yeah, they put out Independent International did a lot of cool stuff. That block double I though gets me so excited seeing it, like that stamp almost of it. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
man. And they did the next movie. These are both Independent International movies, so that's exciting.
That's right. Another movie that he distributed with Paul Naschy in it was House of Psychotic Women.
Yep.
This one, of course, is one of the Waldemar Daninsky films, Night of the Howling Beast, aka Werewolf and the Yeti. There were other titles too. Sam,
Yeah,
do you have a rundown?
I do. Let me load it up on my little black box here.
This was
I,
a legendary movie for me because you couldn't find it so easily. I don't remember them showing it on TV.
no.
That was my only hookup for movies like this. And I read about it, I think, in Alan Frank's horror movies or
Ah,
horror films. An absolutely momentous moment in my life was getting that book. But there it was, Werewolf and the Yeti. And I was like, wow, two monsters in one movie.
Curse of
And
the Beast, Night of the Howling Beast, and Hall of the Mountain King is another one. I've never seen it play as Hall of the Mountain King, which is hilarious that it would have that title. This is the 8th of 12th Waldemar Delinsky movies. And his origin changes every movie. This is my favorite origin. That how do you turn into a werewolf? Oh, well, you just stay in a cave and a bunch of vampire women have sex with you and bite you while your friends are getting killed. What a ridiculous origin story.
it's the truth.
Or is it the best way to become a werewolf? Right? Like
It
it's
was
it's
They
so
were
much
not afraid to show you reality, even if
yeah.
it was uncomfortable,
Yeah.
Sam.
Also, all the caves in this look like they're lit by neon. There's satanic rituals. There's a ton of stock footage. Someone's skin gets ripped off their back. It's pretty intense. It's awesome. And also, I love that he doesn't really spoiler for the movie, but he doesn't really become a werewolf until we're like an hour and 20 minutes into it. It's a long time before you get him being a werewolf in this.
Yeah, you just have to go where the movie takes you
Yeah.
with this one.
Yeah.
And if you were really into the werewolf angle of it, you may have been a little disappointed when you saw this
This is
many, many
also the
years ago.
same man that was in a movie that was set up to be a Frankenstein movie and is a werewolf movie. So this is him paying back, maybe.
Yeah, and I think there's only the most momentary fragment of a Yeti in this movie.
Yeah. It's a great title though. Werewolf versus a Yeti is like that's like your dream as a kid to see these two characters fight. We used to discuss this all. I now that I'm older and I'm like, does everything have to be a fight? It's different. But when you're a kid, you're like, what if Dracula and Alien fought? What would happen? Like, would they have to fight? Like maybe they would just hang out and talk about how their lives are similar.
Alien would speak?
Just the Dracula. It had been waiting for Dracula to come talk to it. And it's like, I am so glad you wanted. That's what he sounds like. I am so glad you wanted to talk to me, but just the little mouth, not the big mouth. The
The
little
one
mouth.
that would come out from
Yeah,
inside and talk,
yeah,
yeah.
and it would
Maybe
talk to
they hiss
Dracula.
at each other because
Yeah,
Dracula hisses.
yeah,
So maybe they could understand each other.
yeah. They both climb upside down the roof and meet hanging upside down.
I used to love at the end of Aliens where the queen alien hisses at the warriors and they back off. She
Yeah,
makes this hissing sound. And you see her looking at them. I'm like, ooh, they can understand each other.
yeah, exactly.
Those hisses mean something.
Oh, Bill, this is the most important question of the evening from Darren. Would you really choose Aldo Ray over Paul Naschy?
Oh, Darren, I think I've answered this before, and the answer is yes, I would. Because Paul Naschy is totally 100% straight.
Yeah,
And I like him. I like thinking of him with, a sexy, buxom woman in these movies. I wouldn't want to steal him.
yeah.
Aldo Ray, though, I would totally do dirty things with him.
This one is definitely like, hey,
Paul Naschy's too beautiful.
Paul Naschy's stuck in a cave with a, well, not stuck though. It's not like the worst fate. He's like in a cave with two women, and it's like, yeah, this is how it is.
Yeah, there's all kind of kinky shit going on in this. That's what this movie is really unique for, because they all had a little bit of an element. House of Psychotic Women did.
Oh yeah,
There's always, when you're writing the movie, you always write a couple of scenes where you get to be sexy with a beautiful woman in the script, but or two beautiful women in this case at once.
He did the same thing in House of Psychotic Women. He's like, it's a whole house of psychotic women. I'm going to get all of them.
There were three of them in that one.
Oh yeah, I'm looking up to give an answer in the chat. We have not shown Werewolf Woman yet, but we did show Werewolf versus the Vampire Woman. So this is the second of the Waldemar Dolinsky movies that we have shown.
I love that you call him Dolinsky.
How should I say it?
It's Daninsky.
Oh,
Valdemar. There's two N's. Daninsky.
dun dun
Na-na-na-na.
dun.
Daninsky.
It's fun. Mike says that the Spaniards hated continuity. They don't just hate continuity. His origin changes in every one. Like sometimes it's traditional universal werewolf origin. This one's definitely not. There's two of them where a Yeti kind of figures in, and it's really amazing. I love that though. It's like, yeah, who cares? Like let's just change it up every time.
Yeah, this is definitely more gonzo than the other ones, which, as you mentioned, they were sort of references to universal monster tropes. But
Yeah,
this, I mean, there's still that stuff in this movie, but this is very bizarre. It's definitely not a universal type plot. This is more of doing its own thing. So
yeah,
that makes this unusual and cool.
yeah. This is the kind of movie. If you told me that they wrote it 2 days before they started shooting it, I'd be like, yeah, okay. Like they totally did. Yeah.
Oh, they had to have not spent much time on these
No,
scripts.
they
I think
spent the most of the time. I'm gonna say, and to his credit, he was like, "We need to really cast the women for this movie, and that's probably gonna take the most of this, and we'll do that." His wife was at all these sets too.
Daryl hit the nail on the head here.
Yeah,
But there's all these women throwing themselves in him more than they should, which is,
he has
I
a
think
very
that's awesome.
similar to Shatner fighting style when he's in fighting scenes too. It's a lot of like
Yes.
drop kicks and
Hunched over.
hunched over. Yeah, they both have kind of like a '60s pro wrestling style of like head scissors and like and chops and slaps instead of punches. It's pretty awesome. Imagine them fighting. That's the move. I'm not for this AI thing, but if it happens, the movie you'll see will be just a movie of them fighting and turning each other into werewolves and then sleeping with women. It'll be like a competition, like a battle of the network stars between the two of their characters.
Eventually, they could go to Mexico and confront a shark there and have an affair with the same woman at the same time.
Exactly. Where have we seen this before? But yeah, that'll be fun.
I'm a big fan of the Nash.
Yeah, I think everybody should be. I think he's one of those ones like once you've gotten through the American movies and you're getting into Euro horror, he's a very comforting presence, right? When he shows up in a movie, like oh yeah,
Yeah.
like that's kind of what I love about his movies. Like they're very warm blanket, feel good movies for me. Like
Paul Nash, my experience with Paul Nash is he was right up there with the greats like Bela Lugosi,
Mhm.
Boris Karloff, the people that he was emulating in these movies, like, and for me anyway, in the era that I started watching TV, because he was one of the most recognizable people for young me.
Yeah,
I knew Lugosi, I knew Karloff, but I also knew Paul Nash from watching these movies on late night TV. And sometimes they didn't show the Universal stuff. I would have gone to that first
well, as I
before
was
I ever
doing,
watched Nashi films, but they showed it to me and I distinctly remember him. I became aware of him very young.
it's funny because as I did the Chiller Theater list, um, his movies played a ton on Chiller Theater. You
Yeah,
know,
that's probably where I saw it, but
yeah,
also on other channels too. Like
yeah,
I remember Fury of the Wolfman on WOR.
yeah.
They would sometimes remember the conundrum when two movies you wanted to watch were showing at the same time on different
You
channels.
would flip in between commercials to try to figure out where you should watch it.
Yeah, that was the worst kind of compromise to have to make.
Yeah. You said a controversial thing. You upset some folks for putting Nashi up there with Karloff. Oh no. That's your opinion though, Bill. I think that that's certainly a positive opinion.
I meant for myself.
Yeah.
I was only speaking for myself in terms of actors who I became aware of as a young monster kid. Because I read about Lugosi and Karloff in books and magazines. So even before I saw a lot of those movies, I knew who those actors were. and I could have recognized them anywhere. And I also, for some reason, could have recognized Paul Naschy in movies because I'd seen maybe like 4 or 5 of them on TV as a young kid.
Well, also, like back then when you haven't read why these films are important or haven't put it together, like I had a more visceral reaction to the Hammer movies than I maybe did to the Universal ones. Like I liked the
Yeah.
Universal ones, but to me they were the monsters that met Abbott and Costello. So they were more friendly, do you know what I mean? And like I was never afraid of them versus the Hammer ones like got in my head. Like I thought about them all the time.
Yeah, I never really thought the Universal monsters were scary, but only because they were so familiar. I can
Yeah.
imagine them being scary when they were brand new,
Yeah.
based on what the audiences at the time were used to.
Oh
But
yeah,
now they're sort
especially
of caricatures.
the first Dracula was like one of the most frightening movies of that year, if not the most. Like it's that's why there's just weird stuff in it, like the armadillo, because it's just like stuff like somewhat out of reality appear in that movie.
Yeah, that's a hard one for me because Dracula was my favorite monster, and it took me a long time to see the original with Bela Lugosi. And when
Yeah.
I did, I was a little disappointed because the first one I saw was Horror of Dracula, and
Uh
that's like action packed compared to the original
yeah.
Dracula. And it was like all the stuff that had become so familiar by the time when I came along.
Yeah.
It just wasn't that scary to me.
I think that's kind of how people started to see all the Universal monsters anyway. You know, that they were
Yeah,
once you saw them that many times, it kind of they just became very friendly.
they were selling breakfast cereals,
Yeah. And they
which
they
were
could they would
delicious.
be on TV all the time too, but especially as the shock theater packages got sold. Like you could see in the 50s and 60s, you could see those a lot more often. And especially like Frankenstein, the look of the Universal Frankenstein's monsters and the monsters too, which is not frightening. So you just kind of
Yeah.
accepted the look of them. Versus like the Hammer Frankenstein's monsters look really like cobbled together beings. They look frightening and weird and bloody and gross.
It took me forever to see Curse of Frankenstein also because they
Mm.
didn't show that on TV when I was a kid.
Yeah.
If they did, I missed it. And sometimes it was on and I couldn't watch it. That was another form of torture as a child. These are the things that I consider part of a bad part of my childhood.
Ah.
Not really. Um, Here's some theatrical exhibitions of Night of the Howling Beast for us to look at with Lucifer's Women. How about that?
Whoa.
That's a big idea to get used to.
Yeah.
Here's one with Blood and Lace. Madre de Dios. 2 beautiful films on the same lineup at the Twilight DI on Smelter Avenue. I don't know where that is.
Smelter. I was probably near. It sounds like it's a place that would be near the factories.
One
Like
would think, but
yeah, we're gonna rock on to Smelter Avenue, and then we'll take it higher.
I love that there was a Twilight Cinema and a Twilight Drive-In.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Twilight Lounge, Sam?
No.
That was that room in my old house that was a bar.
Oh yeah, the bathroom.
It wasn't the bathroom, it
Which
was a
one was the?
bar.
Oh, the bar right outside it. Yeah.
It was a bar and it had a bathroom in it. But yeah, that was an
I do
actual
remember the
location.
bathroom though, because it was like, can people see me in here?
They could. We were all watching.
You were all watching me pee.
It was a location you could tag on Facebook, which probably told it way too much about our lives.
Yeah, Becca says she remembers it. She tagged us in there once.
Here's something, I cut this out, but this doesn't actually have tonight's movie on it. But I was excited about it. You can see why.
Yeah.
It was this ad for Haunts, and I've never seen this ad type before.
Yeah. That's
With
amazing.
with that hooded killer standing over her with a knife. I've
Never
that
seen
type of-
anything intrude into that image.
So this was exciting. Okay, here's another great lineup with Night of the Howling Beast as the anchor film. This was rated R, by the way. And oh, those co-features. I'm getting woozy just looking at it. Mansion of the Doomed.
That's a Bill favorite, right? Mansion of the Doomed.
Let me ask you this. How did they resist the urge to make Doomed a pair of eyeballs in the title?
You know what? I've thought about it a lot.
It should have been done like that. Oh, I know why they didn't do it, because people might have thought they were drawing boobs.
Yeah.
In the ad.
Well, it depends on where. Look, I want you to look up at Mansion, not at my boobs in Doomed.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. There's a mansion in this movie.
Yeah.
Dude.
You would be good to respect the mansion.
Another double with our first feature of the evening. Horror of the Zombies. Oh, look, this was a Halloween screening.
Special night.
2 top horror hits. We certainly think that you will agree after watching Night of the Howling Beast. Oh, and here you go, Sam. I thought you'd get a kick out of this.
Oh, yeah, 100% am. We still got to make this movie, not the movie that it became. None of this happens in this movie, by the way, in case you're wondering. That is
almost could be a Blind Dead movie.
It really could. But that's not it.
Do you think maybe it's hijacked artwork that they were going to use for a Blind Dead movie?
I really feel like it is. Because it doesn't look anything like Edwidge Fenech either. It looks, I don't know. I mean, I love this artwork, though.
Jeff, on Tubi, this movie is called Werewolf and the Yeti.
Yeah.
It should come up, though, if you enter Night of the Howling Beast. I thought it was an AKA on there. But
yeah. There's also a version in Spanish and a version dubbed into English, too, in case you're looking. What movie, Bill, was Blood of the Ghastly Horror? What movie was that? Did you
Blood of Ghastly Horror? That was one of those Joy Hawk movies.
Oh, okay.
Like Women in Bloody, or not Women in Bloody Terror. Yeah, maybe it was that one. Night of the Strangler.
Oh, okay.
Blood of Ghastly Horror. I don't know. I could be getting that mixed up. Let's
go to the internet.
We could check.
If only there was a way to check. Blood of Ghastly Horror from 1967. It is Blood of Ghastly Horror. It's an actual.
Oh, it's Al Adamson.
Al Adamson, yeah.
Okay, that's the Joy Hawk movie was called something else.
And it's got John Carradine and Tommy Kirk.
See, we should have just waited for Paul. He said it's an Al Adamson film.
Thanks, you, Paul. Hey, guys, next segment, if you stick around, I got another giveaway. It is for What the Waters Left Behind 2, Scars. And this movie is the guys that did that movie, the Jalo Abracadabra that came out a couple years ago. It's the same director. It's kind of like a Eastern European Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Pretty fun. Also, whoever won last week, please send me your address. I can't remember who won. Usually by the third segment, I'm drunk. So, like, if you win something, send me a message on Facebook so that I can send you your address so I can send you the prize.
Let's do the drink segment.
Yes, let's. Look who's there for it.
Oh, wow.
My own Howling Beast.
This technology is deserting me. There we go.
Oh, what do we have here?
It's a
howling beast.
A howling beast. He's got to fight a Yeti.
Someone who walked through paint yesterday and is getting a bath later today.
Yes, he is.
Had a bath yesterday, too, to get most of the paint off.
Yes, the howling beast. Let's make a drink for him. Cubby, this drink is for you, but you can't drink it. Anyway, this Werewolf versus the Yeti. Sorry, Werewolf in Tibet is the drink name. It's going to have half an ounce of 99 bananas, ounce and a half of wild cherry flavored brandy.
Joaquin's again.
Joaquin's. Let's get that sponsorship. 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, 2 ounces of just simple black brewed iced tea, and half an ounce of orgeat, or if you can't find that, you can always get almond syrup. You can usually find this at TJ Maxx, actually.
The max for the minimum.
Let's get them to sponsor. We spend enough money there.
We pay their college tuition. TJ
Sure
Maxx.
Anyway, let's do it. So we got the alcohol. We got the
Lemon.
juice. Generous lemon juice. We got the black tea. I've been excited about this drink all week since I came up with it. I'm like, it's either going to be feast or famine. It's either going to be werewolf or Yeti.
Did you make this one up or did you find it
I
somewhere?
found one online and then I adjusted it slightly because I didn't like some of the ingredients. And I added a little more tea to it because I thought it would be better with more of a tea taste to it. Let's shake it up as if this is a Yeti. And I'm like, Paul may actually turn into a werewolf. All right. It's a gorgeous color, huh?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Looks like an iced tea.
Let's take a sip of it. Pazuzu. Whoa, that is awesome. I was totally not expecting that taste. So this is really good.
Pazoos.
Pazuzu, let's watch a movie.
All right. So Pazuzu to all of Yuzu.
Pazuzu. Thank you for the kind words about Becca's camera work. He's been having a lot of fun
Absolutely.
doing.
She's getting to be
So-
like Brian De Palma.
Yeah.
She
She's
needs
really
to start
good.
using a split screen app
Oh.
for it.
What'd you say, baby? Yeah, Becky De Palma. That's what she just yelled in the background.
Right?
Yeah. How can a vampire turn you into a werewolf? That's a question we'll have in this next movie. You'll say, huh? So let us know in the chat what you guys think. If you've seen this before. And if you haven't, if you love it or not, you should love it, obviously.
Obviously.
And have you ever dealt with Tabetian pirates before? Because this movie will introduce you to them.
Yeah, there's danger everywhere, not
Yeah.
only in werewolves.
Yeah. There's danger. There's vampires. There's werewolves. There's yetis. There's pirates. There's falling off a mountain. There's the cold.
The cold.
The cold.
Man versus nature.
Yeah. There's a little bit of everything. Pazuzu. There's everything in this movie. It's got it all. So I'm very excited that we're watching. I think this is a great double feature. Sam Sherman, Independent International put together a great double feature of these two together.
Yeah, I mean, they all work together as movies because they're all, they have a certain atmosphere that they share.
Yeah.
I think they're great together.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love the old sound libraries that always make their way into these movies. They're directly from the same one that you hear stuff from Chilling, Thrilling Sounds of the Haunted House
Yeah.
on it. There's a howling wind sound, especially, that's directly, it shows up in all those Paul
Yeah.
Naschy films.
Oh, yeah.
And I live for that kind of stuff. It makes me happy.
This whole movie makes me happy. Seeing it at the drive-in was awesome. And yeah, Chris, I agree. Like, I thought this would be a cool experience to actually have a real double feature this week.
That was Sam's idea. Thank you so much. Because I was at a loss of what to do after I screwed up. And it was great because I didn't have to actually make a whole lot of artwork for it. I just clipped double features and put our info on it.
Yeah.
He gave me a
And
break.
as we all know, we already announced next week's movies, but in case you're wondering, next week is Bad Dreams and Stage Fright, in case you're wondering. And that'll be with Diana.
Diana from Giallo of the Month will be joining us to watch those.
Yeah, so that'll be fun next week.
I think she did admit or sign up for all 3 segments.
Yeah, I think she said she's going to try to do all 3 segments.
Yeah, I thought she said she committed to it, so I hope so. But Diana, if you don't want to go all the way to the 3rd segment, it's fine. 1 or 2 segments is wonderful.
I don't know if you
always
guys
happy
saw
to
on the
have you.
site this week, I interviewed the guy, our friends from last week from NPR Armageddon. They did an interview and it was a lot of fun. And had a blast with those guys last week too. And also, they've been on the show a couple times. The last couple episodes of Neon Brainiacs have been awesome. They did Bloody Moon this week, and it was great.
Yeah. I knew you'd get excited about that.
Yeah, especially because our guest really did like a 10-minute speech about why Jess Franco is awesome, and I was like, "This is great." I literally sent them a text as soon as it happened. I'm like, "This is amazing."
6 She's and a He. I think you wrote about that for Drive-In Asylum,
Mm,
Paul Werkmeister.
mm.
And if you didn't, you should.
Yeah. Paul said he loves scenic shots that are shots of posters, some of which have creases, kind of like Kingdom of the Spiders. Is that the one? Which is the one with Shatner and the spiders?
Oh yeah, that was one of the biggest disappointments from revisiting movies from my childhood, because I would have sworn that what those filmmakers showed us was literally an entire town covered in cobwebs
Yeah.
instead of a
And
painting.
you see the brush strokes when they zoom in. You're like, God.
That's
You're in a
real.
matte painting. It's just a painting.
Talk about horror of the zombies with
Yeah.
those ended sequences where they drag people to their doom, and not seeing that money shot of the gore at the end of it. That's kind of how I felt going back over it. I was like, wow, that was not the payoff I remembered.
One of my many CBS late movie watches, Bill, as we're getting close to the end of CBS late movie month.
Oh my God, how do you do this? I've been reading those, and I was like, how does he come up with all this stuff? And there's more stuff on there. Like,
Yeah.
that's not the only thing you're doing this week.
No, I got excited. I got excited about all those CBS late movies because there's so many good ones on there, and like it made me watch movies I normally like. I never saw the John Carpenter Elvis before, and I was like, well, that's one of them. Like it was cool. 'Cause it kind of gave me a reason to watch a lot of stuff I normally wouldn't. And then August starts with Animal Attack, Bill, and then there's gonna be a week of foreign remakes of American movies, and then a week of strange directors like Neil Breen and Coffin Joe. And then starting in September, it is all USA Up All Night movies. And October is all movies that were on Chiller Theater in Pittsburgh. And then November is a Mill Creek month. So everything's kind of laid out for a while.
You always do Mill Creek in November, don't you?
Yep, always. Yeah, a Mill Creek set. This time it's sci-fi classics this time. So I'm pretty excited about that. And man, Bill, I am starting to go through the Chiller Theater movies, and there's a lot of good ones. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I distinctly remember that there were a number of movies that totally should not have played on Chiller Theater because they weren't scary and they weren't even particularly, fantastic. It was just
I'm still shocked that
boring.
Marta played on it. Like, and it played more than once.
Yeah, I'm pretty
It
sure
played
I
a-
remember seeing that a couple of times.
Yeah. So pretty excited about that. Oh, thanks, guys. Some people said nice stuff. Thank you very much. Yeah, all the Kolchak ones have been fun to go back through and rewatch them and write about too.
Obscenely prolific.
I don't know about obscenely. I feel like I'm behind. I'm only like 4 days ahead right now, so I usually like to be way more ahead. But I can tell you, Bill, what's coming up this week. What movies are up this week? I can give you a
Yes.
hint. Let's see, The Road Raiders, which is a pilot for a Raiders of the Lost Ark ripoff that had the Barbarian Brothers in it. One of your favorite movies, Bill, Dark August.
Ooh.
Yeah. Dark Places, House of Dark Shadows. That's a whole dark day. We're going dark that day. Bud and Lou, one of my favorite TV movies. Let's see. The Return of Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Faustus, Elvis, Vultures, Outland. Copacabana is in the Bermuda Depths. Lady Beware, and then a movie that upset me more than any movie I've seen in a while, Matilda. about a boxing kangaroo.
I remember Matilda. That was an
Yeah.
HBO movie, not a literal HBO movie. I realized
Yeah.
recently that we keep saying that, implying that
Yeah.
HBO made these movies. We don't. I remember
Yeah.
seeing it all the time on there, though. It was really weird, wasn't it? I only have dim
Yeah.
memories of it.
Yeah. It's very strange because like the it's a human in a kangaroo suit, and it just looks very uncanny valley. You know what I mean? It looks very frightening, and it makes really weird noises. And Becca came in and said, "Why are you watching this?" And I'm like, "Because I want to upset myself." So yeah. Also, I saw Daryl's been binging Dark Shadows at half price last night. They had the Dark Shadows DVD box set, which I almost couldn't lift up. It's so heavy.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I tried to deep dive on Dark Shadows, and it was so slow moving. And the only
Yeah.
thing I could think of is like, this is taking forever. It's going to cut a huge chunk out of my life. I'm going to have to devote to Dark Shadows. So I don't know. I kind
And
of like zoned out on it.
Frank, Bud and Lou is about Abbott and Costello. It's a TV movie, and it has a whole scene about him drinking a malted milkshake before he dies. I saw it as a kid because I had been watching the PGH in town played like at 10:30 on Sundays. They always played, or 11. They always played Abbott and Costello. So I'm like, oh, it's cool. It's gonna be an Abbott and Costello movie. No, it's the real story, including the deaths of them. And man, I was depressed for a long time. Copacabana is very similar. That's a very depressing movie. Like you didn't
Oh,
guess
yeah.
from the song how depressing it would be. It's
It was a bummer. And
very
it started out as sort of like a slapstick comedy, sort of.
yeah.
And you thought it was going to go somewhere happy. And then, oh, no. Oh, what
You find
monster
out
could have done this?
who shot who. And
Yeah.
then it ends and it's a discotheque
Yeah.
at the end.
And
Yeah.
poor Lola. Oh,
Oh, she was a showgirl.
she was Nomi Malone before Nomi Malone.
Yeah, she was. But
It's haunting me. Sometimes I'm lying on my back, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep, and I keep thinking about that Vinegar Syndrome Showgirls
oh,
that I didn't buy. I'm like,
I have a movie tonight in my stack of movies. I finally bought something because I thought the same thing was going to happen. I was like, if I don't buy this, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. And I finally bought it. So spoiler teaser, I should say, for the
yeah.
third segment because I finally got it, and I think it's an edition of 6,000. I literally think I'm the only person that this was made for. Like it's like who would want this other than me? Isn't that what collecting Blu-rays is all about? 6,000 assholes like me wanted it.
Darren, slow moving is great when the movie's only like 70, 80, 90 minutes long, but the length of Dark Shadows is just inconceivable to me. It was like,
well, that's why like I just wrote about House of Dark Shadows for the site, and like the movie is like, hold on, slow down a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Because you're used to the pace of the show, and it goes through like
yeah.
four seasons at 90 minutes. It's like breakneck, and you're like, oh my god, this is insane how fast this is moving.
Barnabas, I know what you are. Dr. Hoffman's eyes turn black all the time.
Oh.
That weird like videography that those exist on, it's so strange seeing them. And her eyes are always totally black, like when Pete Burns used to wear those black contact lenses.
Yeah.
Totally her. By the way, Black Leather was one of our intro songs. There's a brand new Dead or Alive collection out from Cherry Red. It's a total orgasm for fans of Dead or Alive, especially like the early version of Dead or Alive. There was You Spin Me Round, Dead or Alive, but they were around since 1980 before that. And they started out as a band called Nightmares in Wax. And they were only Nightmares in Wax for like a year or so, and then they became Dead or Alive. And there were people that went through that band. Wayne Hussey was in that band. Wayne Hussey of The Mission and Sisters of Mercy first, and then Mission. And they were just a really interesting proto-goth kind of post-punk thing, and this brand new collection is out. It's called Let Them Drag My Soul Away. It really captures like that raw energy of Pete Burns before he became a more focused singer, and he would just like be shouting and bellowing into a microphone during a song, and it's just grand and glorious. I'm very excited about it. Cherry Red Records, Let Them Drag My Soul Away, Dead or Alive.
Oh, that's awesome.
And all the Nightmares in Wax stuff is on there too, which is a dream. They uncovered like a demo, and there was a rehearsal track on there too, I think, for a song that they never actually recorded. And like lots of like weird like live stuff. It's like recordings from the audience, but they fixed it up as good as it could be. And just being able to experience that when they were a big sensation in Liverpool, in nightclubs like Eric's. The people, they had a big following that would go just because like Pete Burns was such a spectacle to watch on stage. Anyhow, I've been rambling on about this for too long.
No, this is good.
Aren't we supposed to start the movie soon?
Yeah, we can start it whenever you want. It's your show, Bill.
It's your show too.
I know, and I'm wrapped in attention listening to this.
So yeah, Night of the Howling Beast. That's our second film tonight. The link is on Groovy Doom to go watch it on Tubi. Look it up under the title Werewolf and the Yeti if you're just going to do a Tubi search. One thing I wanted to ask you before we go to the movie: when's the first time you became aware of Paul Naschy? Since my statement caused controversy, I want you to state something.
Probably much later than you. I'd say in the 2000s.
Okay.
I think when I first, I think right when I really started getting into buying stuff on DVD, especially getting the early Mill Creek sets, that's when I got really into it. And I think that's what, but I was a quick learner, I should say. I probably, the first of his, I had seen before, and I realized I had seen House of Psychotic Women before. But that, not realizing that it was the same actor,
Okay, I was just curious because, for me, he had always been there. He was a very familiar face.
I mean, I probably saw the films on Chiller and stuff, and I was a bit younger than you, so what I would retain was always Godzilla. And those were the movies I was more into.
Those two. I was down for, the Friday after Thanksgiving, which was all the Godzilla movies on WOR.
There used to be a parade in my hometown, and my parents would get so excited about taking me, and I would say to them all the time, I don't want to go to this fucking parade. I wouldn't swear, but I was like, I don't want to go. Yeah, I know. I don't want to go to this parade. I don't care. But the Godzilla movies are on. The day before was King Kong. The day after was Godzilla. I don't want to be around other people. I just want to watch movies. And you know what? Nothing's changed. It's the same way today. So let me watch my Werewolf and the Yeti. This is the one that is on Tubi is the Shout Factory one, which is from their Blu-ray sets of Naschy. So this is a pretty nice looking copy of it. So that's exciting.
Yeah, that's why I linked to that one, because it really is the best that it's ever going to look. So make sure you go click that, or just search on Tubi under Werewolf and the Yeti. I know I called it Night of the Howling Beast because that was what the ads already said. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm always going to go with the most obscure title. Don't Open the Window. I'm there for it.
The Rah Rah Girls.
The Rah Rah Girls. Come Teach Me.
Come Teach Me.
We have to have Come Teach Me on the program sometime. We talk about it so frequently.
Codename Trixie. Or Operation Trixie. That's what we'll call that.
Codename Trixie. You had it right.
Codename Trixie. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Come here, Trixie. Oh, I was trying to get my Night of the Howling Beast to come back, but he's not interested. He's going back to bed with Becca. So
all right. So come back after what's that?
No appearance by Cubby for this segment. Sorry, everybody.
Maybe in the third segment.
Perhaps.
All right. Come back after Werewolf and the Oh, it's a fabulous time. See you then.